Hi there. So the topic of this video is the electric upgrades I've done on my Dweller 13. I've posted about the outlet upgrade that I put here where the AV equipment was, and let me walk you through some of the other things that I just completed. So there were a number of different Dweller configurations depending on when they were built. Mine is a July 2021 VIN date. It's a Dweller 13, so you can see here up front, right inside the door, is the DC control panel. And then here on the left-hand side is the switches for the lights and the step and the awning. Here is where the hole was the temp sensor for the Truma, which I did just recently relocate. So walking on in here, again, kind of filming this, I just finished my electric upgrade. And before I button things up, I thought I'd get some video of it. So in here is the passageway where I ran up the wires for the new control panel that I installed right here. There were some questions about what did I do to cover the holes before, the holes where things were. What I did was I put a grate here in front of the hole, the one hole, and where the Renogy was, I just put a patch panel. And over here where the Truma control was, I put another patch panel. Another change while we're here at this end, the Truma used to have a duct that was running along here and out, and it had a box around it, took up a lot of space. We really like having this open space. So I've plugged that hole, and I'm going to be rerouting the duct here underneath the water pump. Again, the configuration on this Dweller is I've got the water pump under the seat. I had the battery packs are on the passenger side. The Truma Combi is kind of in the middle. And then the Renogy, the charger inverter, is tucked here towards the back. So getting to the kind of the heart of the matter here, previously I had 300 amp hour batteries, the AGMs tucked right here, 67 pounds a piece, so a little over 200 pounds. And what I've replaced those with are two 206 amp hour SOK batteries. These are lithium ions, obviously, 51 pounds a piece. These do have the integrated heater, which really isn't that important to me. But some of the big changes I made were with regard to just cleaning up the wiring and getting what I believe to be some proper fusing and stuffing control. So to start back here in the back, you can see back here, I did put in a smart shunt. So if you look here on the junction block that is on the right hand side, the lower one, on the right side of it, I've got the two battery cables coming in, goes over the junction block, cable comes down into the smart shunt, across the smart shunt, then there's a cable coming up and going over to this upper junction block. And from this upper junction block, then I've got the heavy 2-watt cable going into the Renogy charger inverter. And then I've got the number 2 cable that I ran, and it's going down to the DC distribution block, which I will show in a little bit. Over here on the Renogy, while we're back here, my Renogy did not come with a ground wire. So while I had things opened up, there is a grounding stud inside. And I went ahead and put, I believe, a number 8 wire on that, and grounded it just to the framework here. On the plus side of the DC then, as you can see, I've got a couple of fuses here on the coming up right off of the battery posts. I can't remember what those fuse types are called, but a couple 125 amp fuses there. I've got 2 equal length battery cables coming into this side of the master shutoff. So that's the battery side. And then coming off on the load side of the master shutoff, I've got on the upper side, I've got the 2-watt, a very, very short 2-watt cable going up to a 200 amp cutoff or 200 amp fuse, and then going into the Renogy. And then again on the lower side, I've got a number 2 cable going into the DC distribution block. These are the same distribution blocks. I've cleaned them up. I made sure to put ferrules on all the cable ends. If you have those blocks, they're fine. They're only rated for 160 amps. So, be sure, be careful what you're running through them. Before the whole 200 amp load was running through those. Right now, I've got them down to where, you know, there's less than 100 amps going through them. But, you know, check the tension on those, keep them tight. So coming out of that, then the new circuits that I've added, I've got a 40 amp fuse here, and this runs up to my new Victron MPPT solar controller. Then, as you can see on the solar controller, on the solar panel side, I added a cutoff breaker isolation switch, which is good practice, which is recommended everywhere. To make space for that, I did relocate my AC 120 volt over there to the side. And then going back over here, I've got this 40 amp fuse. This will be going to my Victron DC to DC controller if the new Orion XS ever is shipping. They're starting to ship, I'm just on back order right now. Then beside that, I did run one more block, and that's just for small DC circuits. Right now I've got my propane alarm is the only thing I've got on there. And then I ran another ground, just a bus bar for some future expansion. And then kind of finally, so right here, this breaker right here, that is where the DC comes off the 7-pin connector from the front of the truck. That currently is not being used. I'm not using it right now. It used to go straight into the battery. I've just got that isolated right now. That is where my Victron charger, DC charger will go. And then right beside this is the junction box that I built for when I added the additional outlet there on the outside. So that's kind of the highlight of where things are. Only other thing while I've got things open that is maybe worth interest to people is I did cut some additional holes back in here, and the intent of those is just to get a little more breathing or make it a little easier for the HB9000 to get air intake, because that intake, as you know, is stuck right in here, and it is it's, you know, very constricted. So I'm feeling that with those holes there and then having the additional grate space here, you know, I think I've done some improvements to hopefully get more air to this, and maybe the performance will be a little bit better. Any questions? Let me know.